Forgot my sunnies. Well, welcome back. We're all loving the good weather and hoping the imminent heat wave is just as good as expected. But our furry four-legged friends often struggle in the heat and need a little bit of minding.
Indeed, here with advice and tips on keeping your pets safe in the sun is Charles Cosgrove of Village Vets. And you have a very special friend with you, but it's just too hot and sunny for poor little Moggy.
I don't think any of us are used to this. We're in for a scorcher. And yeah, so for pets, it's going to be a big week for them, you know. It's as vets, going to be a big week for us. We're going to expect a lot of pets coming in with heat stroke, you know, remnants of barbecues. So, you know, people really need to take this seriously.
We're going to talk about cats, dogs, and then smaller little furry fellas like guinea pigs and rabbits. And there's things that I just would never have thought of, that a lot of people mightn't have thought of, like the sunstroke issue, starting with cats, first of all.
Yeah, well, cats are, like, especially white cats. White cats oftentimes don't have hair in their ears or very sparse hair in their ears, so they're very prone to getting skin cancer. So it's very important to put their Factor 50 sun cream, which I've bought here myself. So humans sun cream.
Just normal sun cream?
Literally, you just put a tiny bit on your fingers, smidge it like that, and then over the tips of the ears. So that's really, really important, and to do that regularly.
And is it just on a cat's ears, Charles?
Mainly just in the cat's ears. They are prone to getting it around the bridge of the nose as well, but if you put it on the bridge of the nose, they're so sensitive to smell, and they'll probably lick it off as well, so it's not always practical.
OK. Keeping them in the shade, of course, and keeping them hydrated, hugely important.
Yeah, so keeping in the shade, keeping their water bowls in the shade as well. So, you know, stainless steel bowls will heat up quite quickly because they're metal, so that'll heat the water, so not always a good idea. Mainly plastic or ceramic bowls would be best. Keep it inside, keep it in the shade, and even a few ice cubes. You know, give them different ranges of water, different types of water, just to keep them hydrated. It's really, really important.
You had seen a lot of cases of contaminated water bowls. Tell us about that.
So, water bowls outside, birds have very little access to drinking water, so they tend to drink water out of pets' water bowls and even eat their food as well. But the problem with birds is sometimes they can transmit bacteria via that water onto pets, and we see a lot of cats and dogs getting really, really sick with bacteria from birds.
Aww.
And that can be really
something
serious.
that you just never think of.
No, you
wouldn't.
No,
it's not. And look, you know, we don't live in this climate normally, so it's pretty. It can be pretty stressful for them.
You should just make sure their water bowl is
inside preferably, yeah. Or if it's even outdoor pet, try and put it into a garden shed, maybe put it into a doghouse or something like that, somewhere where birds don't normally go, you know. And obviously put out a water bowl, put out a bird table for your birds, a feed basket of nuts or something like that. So try and give the birds an opportunity to eat and drink somewhere else away from the pet's food.
Away from your other pets,
Yeah.
OK. And shaded areas, of course.
All the time, yeah, like shaded areas, under trees, in sheds. Just make sure that if you have dog houses or rabbit hutches or anything like that, that they're not plastic. They heat up really, really badly.
Well, the sort of obvious thing that you'd think of with pets and hot weather is cars. Leaving a little gap in the window. I mean, I guess that's a blindingly obvious one to mind.
Oh, like, you know,
do people still do it? Does it still happen that
yeah, we had a very serious incident last year that was really quite tragic. But yeah, leave the windows open, but not so open that they might jump out of the car, which also happened. So, air conditioning. You know, first and foremost, try not to bring them in the car unless it's absolutely necessary.
Of course.
You know, whatever you do, don't leave them in the car when you're parking. You know, it's really, really critical that we're facing an unprecedented weather over the next week. Try not to bring them in the car. Try not to keep them in, you know, extensions, glasshouse extensions, things like that.
What about dogs, Charles? Do they need some kind of sunscreen as well?
Dogs, if they have sparsely covered ears, yes, do put on sunscreen. In terms of walking them, try and do it early in the morning or late in the evening. Don't do it in the peak of the midday sun. A lot of dogs, they get heat stroke, and by the time they develop signs of heat stroke, it's quite far advanced. So signs of heat stroke would be first and foremost panting, quite heavy panting. They'll get sluggish, they'll start to stagger as if they're punch drunk, essentially.
Yeah.
And then ultimately collapse. They'll just collapse down, and that needs emergency treatment. You need to get to see your vet really, really quickly.
Okay.
Especially with indoor pets, is it important to have them microchipped if they are going to be spending a bit more time outdoors like the rest of us?
Yeah, microchipping now is a legal requirement in dogs, so but some people still haven't got around to doing it, and that's okay. But in this weather, dogs, you know, we tend to be exercising our dogs more, throwing balls and things like that. So not only be careful in the sun, but if they do tend to disappear, you're out in the beach or in a park or somewhere, please, please, please make sure they're microchipped. And also make sure that your microchip is registered so that your mobile number is on it.
So important, isn't it?
Massively, massively.
I think people are very conscious of that now anyway. What about barbecuing, Charles? We're all barbecuing and, you know, people think they're showing kindness to the pet, giving them the jumbo sausage or whatever it is.
No, so, yeah, first they'll be rummaging in the bin or rummaging off people's plates, the leftovers, and that can make them quite sick. They can get a lot of internal problems with that. But yeah, bones from chops or steaks, corner the cobs, jumbo sausages can get stuck in them, and we'll find ourselves removing them surgically because they just can't pass them, so they can be quite dangerous as well.
Final one, Charles. What about, you've got a hutch in the garden, you've got a guinea pig or a rabbit out there. I guess they're vulnerable as well.
Yeah, so put the hutch into the shade. Make sure it's not a plastic hutch because they heat up quite badly. If it's, you know, if it's particularly warm, which it looks like it's going to be, get a 2-litre bottle, fill it with water, and freeze it. And then put it underneath the hutch so it's nice and cold. So it gives them a cool area to base themselves from. So, and constantly recycle these bottles. Make sure there's a cool pack there the whole time, and just keep them out of the sun. Lots of water, ice cubes. All the usual,
just mind them.
Mind them. Look,
exactly.
The more than you would do with children, you've got to do it with your pets as well. So it's really, really important.
It's a good reminder,
stuff, Charles.
Charles. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for that.
Now, up next, looks to turn the head of any judge at Ladies' Day this year. Fashion is up next.